Welcome back to our live coverage of the Indonesian elections. Defence Minister Prabowo Subianto looks like the clear leader as counting continues. Let's have another look at the unofficial tally so far. Mr. Prabowo is projected to pick up around 60% of the votes. His campaign team says that they are confident that they've won in this single round. The runner-up at this point is former Jakarta Governor Anies Baswedan. He has around 25%, followed by former Central Java Governor Ganjar Pranowo with 17%. And you are looking at live pictures of Prabowo and Gibran Rakabuming Raka arriving at the stadium, greeting their supporters there in Jakarta.
Doa kita bersama-sama. Betul sekali untuk menjadi satu putaran. Boleh dari dua kita di atas sama-sama. Dan juga
Two men presumably headed to a support rally there in Jakarta on what is a historic night, could be potentially for the defence minister. Now, for more analysis on the elections, let's head over to Wesu in our Jakarta studio. Wesu.
Joining us, our guests again with more analysis. Now, Mr. Bayouni, Mr. Endi, in the Jakarta polls, you have been critical when you have needed to be of the Widodo administration. But, Professor Dewi, you feel that for all the, I suppose, things that you were criticizing from 2016 onwards, when they needed to be criticized, the election itself, what happened in the process leading up to today, there were egregious violations of what you feel.
So despite the soft criticisms against Jokowi's misuse of power, concentration of power, there were not been wholesale agitation against Jokowi, unlike what happened in the few weeks before the election, where over 60 campuses have come up openly condemning Jokowi for an abuse of power. And this is besides the issues of the constitutionality and the conflict of interest and ethics of the appointment.
You talk abuse of power. Give me very specific, concrete examples.
So the abuse of power here, besides the political interventions to influence the constitutional court to usher in speedily, Gibran, the son of Jokowi, to become vice president. The political influence was very clear there, because particularly, the personal relations between Joko Widodo as president and the Chief Justice, who is his brother-in-law, and that is a real conflict of interest. If he had recused himself, if the Chief Justice Anwar Usman had recused himself from that decision, the blatant conflict of interest would not been very clear. But what is even more blatant is the real abuse of power similar to the New Order period, in order for the state to intervene.
New Order, if you could just explain to us under Suharto
during the Suharto period, it was always very clear that Golkar, the governing party at the time, would always win. That President Suharto would always be president, regardless of of what the elections was. We already knew,
because he chose the parliament, and the parliament chose
exactly.
him.
It's all every stacked. It was, the election was stacked to such an extent that there was no way that the opposition party could make it. During the New Order regime between 1966 to 1998, the bureaucracy were forced to vote for Golkar. The military was part of, with its dual functions, would always...
Dual function meaning it was part of social life, and it had its security functions.
The military was not just a defense force, but also it had an active social political force. And those, the bureaucracy in the military, and at the time, the military was under... the police was under the military. ABRI, it was called the Armed Forces of Republic of Indonesia, comprised of the three forces of the military, Army, Navy, and Air Force, plus the police. After Reformasi, we separated the military from the police. But during the New Order period, the bureaucracy in the military were the backbone of the Golkar's endless victory and Suharto's repeated re-election. We have not, during the Reformasi period, the first thing that we did, and I was very much part of that during the President Habibie's time, and after that, as an academics and so on, we ensured a law that would make it illegal for the civil service, for civil servants to take an active role in politics. We are not allowed to be a member of a political party. I'm still a civil servant. Civil servants are not allowed to be a member of a political party or to show open support for a particular political party candidate.
I'm going to bring in...
But this, I would like to say that during this election, there's blatant mobilization of the bureaucracy, the military and the police, including at the village level. During the Suharto period, the military of the village levels were very important in mobilizing and intimidation. This, the military, the police and the bureaucracy have again been deployed openly to support the candidate. And this is another thing, the politizations of social assistance to the poor. So when the president and the minister who are campaigning for Prabowo and Gibran gave out the social assistance, they say, you vote for number 2.
Okay. Now, you talk about, for example, 2003, 2004, a great deal happened then in Reformasi periods. So 2003 is the creation of the Anti-Corruption Commission, the Constitutional Court, and 2004, the military law that took the military out of civil society in Indonesia. But we've seen that regress since 2016, Mr. Andy?
Yes, this is a president who is very, very powerful. We can make comparison with Suharto, right? He controls almost everything. He controls parliament, 83% of the seats. He controls the police, the military, the court, obviously, when the Constitutional Court sided with him, the Electoral Commission, and also I think we have to make the point that he also controls public opinion. And that's very important. This is how he actually managed to govern the country with very little checks and balances, because he controls all the important institutions, including, like I said, public opinion. The media, civil society are very weak in providing the checks and balances. So, he gets away with all the things that he has done.
In a way, you can kind of see why he's obsessed with putting legacy in place, because when he leaves office, all these things, he has no official position, he loses control.
He's still very popular. The latest...
when you're no longer president, how does it matter whether you're popular?
Well, he's preparing himself beyond 2024, obviously, right? And this is why he got his son to run. And I think there is some kind of deal between him and Prabowo, something that we don't know, but I'm sure that there is a deal in return for providing support to Prabowo. I guess there will be some kind of position or role that Joko will have under Prabowo's administration.
No, I don't want to exempt civil society, and I'm part of the civil society, from the collective sin that we have in allowing Joko Widodo to concentrate power in his hands. After all, Joko was a non-entity when he came, and he became someone precisely because of the strong support of civil society, strong support of the media, because he was considered to be a manifestation of Indonesia's reformasi, someone who is not associated with the military, not associated with the bureaucracy, and not associated with the political elites. And the media and civil society supported him because he was not Prabowo. He was not a legacy of the new order. So he won in 2014 against Prabowo. He won in 2019 against Prabowo. So the civil society and the media, despite what Andy said, we criticize when necessary, that criticism is not enough.
So you were complicit in shutting your eyes to something that was happening in front of you.
We were complicit because we continue to believe that Jokowi will not do too much damage to Indonesian democracy. But what happened prior to this election, when there was such a blatant desire by Jokowi to perpetuate his legacy by obtaining power through his son, who is not eligible to run for election according to the law, changing that through the Constitutional Court, presided by his brother-in-law, and then using the state forces to support that finally shocked us.
Shocked you into waking up finally.
Shocked us. We're too late to change public opinion. Yeah,
I think the elections, given that huge margin by Mr. Prabowo Subianto, we are looking at that administration. So we end on a slightly speculative note. So if there is a deal between Mr. Prabowo and Mr. Joko Widodo, and there would have been, because in exchange for you taking my son as VP, you have to give me some kind of position that allows me to retain some kind of influence after I leave office. In a way, we both hope, or everyone hopes, for Indonesia's sake, that that deal, insidious as it sounds, actually holds, because that would mean stability and, I suppose, lack of violence in Indonesia. If you look ahead, what would you expect in the next few weeks, the next few months, yourself and then Professor Dewi?
Well, we are entering a period of uncertainty. The two losing candidates have something like 30 days to decide whether to accept or reject the elections. And if they reject the elections, and then what's going to happen? And it's not just these two candidates, but I think the universities, the students who came out with strong statements last week, they will also decide whether they to accept this election or not, given the fact that this, for them, for many people, is a first election where there were so many violations clearly and proven. And so they have the right to reject the election. But the question is, if they reject, what's going to happen? And if they accept the election, what will happen? We just don't know at the moment.
Professor Dewi.
Well, there is a large cloud. It is ironic, Indonesia as the third largest democracy that we have celebrated and playing such an important role in promoting democracy in the region, ASEAN, and also globally. Now, our democracy, Indonesia's democracy, is a big question mark to us. And for me, I'm brokenhearted. I'm very concerned, I'm furious, but most importantly, I'm brokenhearted. But at the same time, it's also giving me energy. It shows that, you should never be asleep.
I'm afraid this is not going to be helping your being brokenhearted right now, but we have to listen to Mr. Prabowo Subianto likely proclaiming victory. Let's take a look at what's happening at the headquarters of Prabowo Subianto and Gibran Rakabuming Raka.
Selamat malam. Salam sejahtera bagi kita sekalian. Shalom, Om Swastiastu. Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan. Saudara-saudara sekalian, marilah kita tidak henti-hentinya memanjatkan puji syukur kehadirat Allah Subhanahu wa taala, Tuhan Maha Besar, Tuhan Maha Kuasa. Kita masih diberi kesehatan sore hari berkumpul di tempat bersejarah ini untuk menyambut hasil sementara dari pemilihan umum.
If you've just joined us, you are watching our coverage of Indonesia Votes 2024 on the stage there in Jakarta right now. The Defense Minister, Prabowo Subianto, together with his vice presidential running mate, Gibran Rakabuming Raka, addressing supporters at a rally there. Many of the supporters there hopeful that this is, in fact, a victory speech of some sort, although there has been no declaration of a winner as yet. Counting officially does continue in Indonesia.
Beserta Mbak Selvi Ananda. Ketua Umum Partai Amanat Nasional
of the
Saudara Zulkifli
PAN,
Hasan,
Mr. Zulkifli Hasan, and all cadres of the PAN party,
Ketua Umum Partai Demokrat,
President of the Democratic Party, Mr. Agus Hartimurti Yudhoyono,
beserta seluruh
and all cadres of the Democratic
Ketua
Party,
Umum Partai
President
Golongan
of the Golkar Party, Mr. Airlangga,
beserta seluruh kader
and
Partai
all
Gerindra,
cadres of the Golkar Party,
Ketua Umum Partai Bulan
President of the Stars and President Stars Party, Yusri Ishar Mahendra,
Bintang, seluruh
and all
kader
cadres
Partai Bulan Bintang,
of the
Ketua Umum Partai
President
Gelora,
Stars Party,
Bapak Anies Mata,
President of the Gelora Party, Anies Mata,
yang diwakili oleh Pak
represented
Fadli Hamzah.
by Mr. Fadri Hamzah,
Ketua Umum Partai
President
Solidaritas
of
Indonesia,
the Indonesian Solidarity Party,
Saudara Kaisang Pangarep,
Mr. Kaisang Pangarep,
seluruh
and all
kader Partai
cadres
Solidaritas
of
Indonesia.
the Indonesian
Ketua Umum
Solidarity
Partai
Party, President of the Prima Party,
Agus Jabu,
Mr. Agus Jabu,
Ketua Umum Partai Garuda, Saudara
President of the Garuda Party, Rida Sabana,
Harian,
President
Partai Gerakan Indonesia Raya,
President
seluruh
and all cadres of Gerindra,
Ketua Tim Kampanye Nasional,
the National Campaign Team leader, Mr. Roslani,
beserta seluruh
and all members of the National Campaign Team, the secretaries of the TKN, Mr. Nusran Wahid,
Ketua Umum
President of the Relawan Projo, the volunteers, Mr. Budi Ari Setiadi,
Ketua Umum
President
relawan-relawan yang hadir,
of the heads of the volunteers,
Samawi,
para JP, Samawi,
Pita,
Gempita,
Rela NU,
Rela NU, Retnas,
Bolo Ne Mase,
Bolone Mase,
Matahari 08,
Matahari 08,
Laskar Trisakti,
Laskar Trisakti,
Persaudaraan 98,
98 Fellowship,
Relawan Sahabat Ara dengan Ketua
Volunteers of Sahabat Hara with leader Marwa Sirair,
para ulama,
our
para
clerics,
kiai yang hadir,
our religious
antaranya Gus Miftah,
figures, Gus Mita, who is here.
Berdiri Gus, biar kelihatan rambutmu.
Please, so we can see you.
Hadir Jenderal TNI Purnawirawan
Yeah,
Agung
also here, the TNI General Agung Gumelar
Serta Ibu
and
Linda Agung Gumelar.
Madam Linda Agung Gumelar.
Hadir
Also present here,
Polisi Purnawirawan
Police General, retired police generals,
Jenderal TNI Purnawirawan Dudung Abdurrahman,
retired TNI General Dudung Gunawan,
Letnan Jenderal TNI Purnawirawan Muhammad
retired
Hendra,
TNI Lieutenant General,
Jenderal Polisi Purnawirawan Muhammad Iryawan,
retired Police Commissioner
Saudara Erick Thohir,
Mr. Erick Thohir,
Saudara Bahlil
Mr.
Lahadalia,
Bahlil Lahadalia,
Saudara Agus
Mr. Agus
Budiwan,
Budiwan,
Saudara Budiman Sujatmiko,
Mr. Budiman Sujatmiko,
Saudara Dito Aryo Tejo,
Mr. Dito Aryo Tejo,
Saudara Abu Rizal Bakri,
Mr. Abu Rizal Bakri,
Bapak
Well, that was Prabowo Subianto addressing his many supporters at the Istora Senayan in Jakarta. Let's bring in Chandni Vatvani, who's on the ground at the stadium. Chandni, Prabowo Subianto giving there a speech. He spoke earlier. What were some of the key takeaways?
I'm so sorry. You might have to repeat yourself there. I didn't quite catch the question.
Chandni, it's dawn here in the studio in Singapore. Prabowo Subianto gave a speech earlier on. Tell us some of the key takeaways.
Well, he did give his his speech. He's still in the middle of his speech as well. He hasn't gotten to the crux of it yet. However, what he has said so far is that he's come in. He has thanked everybody present for his support. He has thanked everybody even not present for their support that they have shown to him. He has thanked various members of the political society who are present here. For example, Agus Harimurti Yudhoyono as well, and all of the members of his coalition who are present. He's even just thanked, just before you came to me and we got to my live, he thanked Ibu Titik Suharto, who is his ex-wife, and she received very, very loud round of cheers here from the audience. He is still making his rounds and saying thank you, but we haven't gotten to the crux of his victory speech yet, or rather what people are expecting to be a victory speech, given the fact that over 90% of the unofficial quick counts have been announced already, and the fact that they have unofficially won this election.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Chandni. Let's get live to Saifulbahri Ismail now. He's next at Anies Baswedan's media center in Jakarta. Saiful, why did Mr. Anies Baswedan, why did his campaign of change, that's what he campaigned all of this time on, why did it fail to resonate with the voters?
Well, indeed, Anies has been campaigning the election on the platform of change amid outrage among many Indonesians over what they see as President Joko Widodo attempts to retain influence when he leaves office. But championing change has been a tremendous challenge for Anies because he's not only fighting against Prabowo, but he's also fighting a more formidable opponent in Jokowi, who is covertly supporting Prabowo and his son Gibran. More than 70% of the population approves of Jokowi's work and are content with how things are in the country. Jokowi is so popular and his approval rating is unusually high for an outgoing president. So that leaves Anies with about 20 to 30% of the electorate who may not like Jokowi and who want change.
All right, Saiful, thank you very much for that. Saifulbahri Ismail, they're reporting for us live from Jakarta. Now let's bring in Olivia Marzuki. She is standing by at Ganjar Pranowo's national campaign team headquarters that is also in Jakarta. Olivia, Ganjar has urged supporters to wait for the official results, not to jump to any conclusions, but the numbers are quite stark here. How do we expect his team to respond to what appears to be a very poor showing?
Well, indeed, Dawn, it is a poor showing, and you can sense the disappointment here in the national campaign headquarters of Ganjar and Mahfud, not just among those two presidential and vice presidential pairs, but across all party supporters, all the political parties that put their weight behind Ganjar and Mahfud, and that includes members of parties of PDIP, the ruling party, and members of party of Hanura, PPP, and also Partai Perindo. So the head of national campaign spokesperson Arshad Rashid earlier told everybody here in this headquarters to hold their guns and wait for the official results to come out, to respect the time, that the KPU has in mind before declaring any victory. And so this is something that we should monitor very closely, Don.
Olivia, thank you for that. Olivia Marzuki there, live for us in Jakarta. Now let's get some final analysis with Lok Wesu. She is in our Jakarta studio. Wesu, you have spent the day speaking to Indonesian experts. What is their sense of the latest numbers, and what do they think all of this means for the future of Indonesia?
Oh, Dawn, we've spoken to several experts, and we have two of them still in the studio with us, and I think there is general consternation, not necessarily at who has won or who has lost based on the quick count right now, but the process that has led up to the results that we're seeing now and what that suggests for what has happened to what many think are democratic gains that Indonesia has made since the end of the new order in 1998. Of course, looking ahead, the concerns right now would be we all think about presidential elections, but there's also legislature. So are we going to be seeing a win, a majority win for the PDIP? Is Mr. Prabowo Subianto, will he be reaching out to form new alliances, coalitions with big parties or not? That we will see in the next few days. Thanks so much for that. Back to you, Dawn.
All right, thanks, Wesu. Look, Wesu, they're bringing you live coverage of the elections from Jakarta.